In the year 21X, Lord Boxman opened a store to arm his robot horde. But the heroes of Lakewood Plaza
are ready to fight! KO Renegade are in battle mode. Once you keep the bag, I silly all explode. Power up and fight, let's watch an episode of Lakewood
Podcast.
Turbo!
Thank you for joining me here at this active volcano in this week's episode of Lakewood Podcast Turbo. I'm your host Wyatt, and kids and their videos and game. Who is here with me today, as always?
It's me, the kid with the video and the game, Buster Corp.
We're here to talk about episodes 19 and 20 of OKKO. Episode 19, Face Your Fears, and episode 20, Everybody Likes Rad.
Wait, which one's first,
and
Rad or Fears?
Face Your Fears. That's the first one that we're going to be talking about. Bordered by David Legre and Haewon Lee. This one, despite being bordered by these two, I mentioned many times before, they have like a wild style together.
Yeah.
You know, like very crazy kind of bonkers episodes. And there's a little bit of that for sure. Like the energy, I feel like is still there, but it is an episode that on the surface seems like just a normal kind of like funny episode, but turns out to be like an intensely important episode in like multiple vectors.
Oh yeah, like when I think of OKKO, this is actually one of the first episodes that comes to mind because of just like it's like symbolizes like those hints of lore, but still is like wildly funny and like very well it's just a good character drama, and also I think someone's vacuuming in the other room.
Yeah. This it does remind me of like how in X-Files there's the Monster of the Week episodes, and then there's the Myth Arc episodes, and that's how it's classified like internally, in that like a couple episodes per season will continue the storyline of, you know, what the hell's going on with Mulder and his sister and all that stuff. And then the rest will be like, oh, the lizard man is in the vents and he's sucking the life force out of people, you know.
Vents.
Like that it will be stuff like that. So like I love it when a Monster of the Week episode or like a you know, that kind of episode becomes an important like plot episode. You know, you like at first you think that the episode where Pearl loses her phone is going to be like, okay, whatever, you know, it's just Steven going into her head to find Pearl's phone, and then it like reveals like the biggest twist in the entire show, you know. Like by the end of that episode, and not quite the same thing here, but it is like a similar kind of like, okay, we have this premise of like a device where people get to face their fears, like Kingdom Hearts 3. And
it's a banger song. I don't blame you.
Yes. And so they're facing their fears, and it's, you know, like Gar turns it up to like maximum and then is stuck in there, and then everybody has to go in and help, you know, one another like face their fears. And like that seems like, that's like, what is it going to be, his mom or something at the end, you know, like something stupid like that at the end, because like Enid and Rads were kind of dumb as well, or we're maybe not dumb, but like we're kind of like
jokey,
a little bit jokey, a little bit, you know, like weren't taken with as much seriousness as Gar's was. A couple of things I want to mention, you know, before we get into the meat of the episode is, one, yes, this, I believe, you know, in our watch order, who knows about the intended order or whatever, but in this, like, the way that we've been watching it, this is the first time that the term of videos game is used, which will become a reoccurring joke throughout the whole show.
I honestly, I have put that into my lexicon a bit of like words. I like using videos game. It's just so fun to say. Very the same.
And it's also the first appearance of the Yay when Dendi shows up.
Oh yeah, I love that.
So when she pops out of the arcade machine, there's a little yay. So I wonder if like those were jokes constructed by Dave Allegri and Haewon Lee, and then the rest of like the crew just thought they were so funny that they just started incorporating them, like similar to how like at one point like the reason why all the characters say sorry instead of sorry, you know, with like the Canadian pronunciation, is because in AJ's Infinite Summer it ends for whatever reason with AJ saying, guys, I'm sorry. You know, he says it that way, and Ian just thought it was really funny. so he decided to be like, yeah, we should just do, you know, push that to be a thing with all the line readings in this show. So I wonder if it's like that same thing where like they just made like something that they would consider like, oh, it's a one-off joke, like, oh, Gar is an out-of-touch old man, so he says a videos game instead of video games.
Well, it's a funny word anyway, so
yeah. but yeah, I do wonder if like that was like a just a one-off joke that ended up being extended into other episodes.
Speaking of extending into other episodes, the sandwich, this is like the first episode where we learned the sandwich isn't a joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because like before, like that flashback has appeared multiple times.
Yeah.
But this is the first time like we're treated like truly seriously. I think like even the last time that it appeared in the episode with the picture of Carol that they destroy and had to recreate, like that one, like it's a little bit more serious, but this one it's like, okay, clearly something like traumatic happened involving like this rainy night and the donut shop exploding and the sandwich, you know. And I love the double whammy of like at first you think, oh, laser blast, he's the like that's what he's afraid of. They beat it. KO uses the darkness inside of his soul to do it. A second hint towards TKO, which will be in a few episodes. And then like after and that's like now going back and watching this series again, you know, I've seen it a couple times, but like going back to these early episodes, I realized how many layers there is to the idea of like, oh, he's using the power of TKO to defeat Laser Blast, you know, just like how many layers to that there is. But then the reveal that, oh, that's not what Gar was afraid of. Laser Blast was just part of it. What he actually was afraid of is the anger that Carol felt after that whole situation. And how he used to, like, I mean, he still is in love with her, and, you know, feels like he ruined his chances, you know, being an idiot, you know, bringing a sandwich to some events and causing, like, this big schism to form between them. Which I do like that, Carol is like no hard feelings about, like in the future, like 6 to 11 years later, she's like, yeah, you know, that was sad then, but I have moved on from it. You know, like she's not like standoffish against Gar. He's the one who's like emotionally constipated towards her. She feels like the fact that she has moved on, like that gives a lot more credence to, you know, that makes Gar's emotional constipation more of a thing that like can be worked on. Because if she was still pissed about this whole thing, then it would basically be like an unfixable situation. But because like she's like moved on, she has KO and everything, it's fine.
I guess we could get to some of the other fears, like Enid's all younger selves, which is the first sign of weeb Enid, weeb ninja Enid that we would get later.
I like that. It's interesting because like all three of the like younger Enids, like KO is able to assign like parts of her current personality to each of them. But knowing the future, we know, like, oh, the witch Enid is not just a representation of her brooding nature. She is a witch. You know, because her family is, like, all Halloween themed. And, like, that's a representation of that. Same thing with, like, the ninja one. That's not just, like, a funny, like, oh, look, she's, you know, like a Naruto kid. She was like that. She looked like that before.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like moved on and changed. And then like the cool Enid, you know, with the shirt and everything, like that's the only one that we never see in like a later episode. But yeah, I love all those different versions. Very cute, you know, and very excited to get to the, you know, You Have to Care.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a good one. And then like Rad's is just funny. I just like the facial expressions they put on like all the Rads. It's like it cracks me up. It's like some of the best Rad animation in the show.
Yeah, and Enid having like a fucking panic attack while being like, I don't understand. What is he even afraid of? Thinking that it's like claustrophobia, but then like, oh, he's like a macho guy who's masquerading his sensitive nature, you know, through his machismo, and then like they have to imagine sad things. And I like that the one for KO is that he drops a chili dog onto the floor, and then the one for Enid is that a customer comes up and starts asking questions to her, and that's what makes them burst out into tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, just very funny.
And I guess like back to like Gar's Fear, like the whole like this is probably the best action animation so far.
Oh yeah, the scene where they're fighting, like KO is like running.
A lot of dramatic lighting.
Is like I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like I didn't expect it from, like I know that you know they're all excellent storyboard artists in their own way, but like I didn't associate action scenes with, you know, the Dave and Haywan episodes. So like when we got like an awesome action scene from them, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it really feels like they're just like waiting to get let loose to just do some like cool shit, and they got to let
and loose. It's like a silly you know, like sandwich parts are being flung all over the place, but it like looked awesome, and it was like really like emotionally cathartic to have like, oh, KO is the one, you know, it's symbolic that he's the one who like quells the anger inside of Carol, because, you know, in real life that's what happened. You know, she ended up giving birth to KO, and then she ended up like letting bygones be bygones, you know. Like the situation with Laser Blast is tragic, but she still has KO, a child, to look after.
Yeah. I'd say this is probably like one of the best episodes so far. I know I kind of say that all the time, but like it's a good show. What can I say?
It's a really good show. But yeah, as far as like progressing the plot, being funny, being cool, you know, and having like an emotional punch to it, I think this nails every single category. Especially like, oh, you get that little win from Gar at the end where he says a full sentence to Carol for the first time. You know, and he's still like very awkward and everything, but like he's not, you know, he's finally beyond like completely freezing up in embarrassment around her, which is great.
Yeah. I guess now we can go on to more of a goofball episode.
Yes, next episode, but still like partially serious.
Yeah.
You know,
in the sense of like, to it.
Yes, I would say in the sense of like the moral lesson of the episode and like what it's about underneath what it's about. You know, so everybody likes Rad with a question mark, Geneva Hansen and Mira Ongchua. Now, I remember Ian describing this episode as like, you know, it's about Vine, of course, but it's specifically about how often Vines from the Black community would get like really popular, but not for like any of the reasons of them being like funny or well constructed or whatever, but just because like, oh, this Black person is doing something, you know, that's weird to me as a white guy or whatever. And then like they would make like, that's where the humor would come from, is like the difference in like just purely that kind of like stereotypical view.
That's actually like, very interesting. Like it seems like a very personal lesson that you wanted to get across, which is like really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that like it's coming from that lens, like the episode, like viewing the episode with that lens, it's like very easy to see like all the similarities, you know.
Yeah, like, and I mean like Rad already like to me they're basically like black coded in some way.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and like the you know, the alien stuff being like the little the like simulacrum for that, you know, it allows the show to tackle something that's like a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more like after school special maybe, without like being too saccharine or too
there's still a lot of good jokes in
it.
it. Like the 15 minutes of fame joke. I really like that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like a ton of great, like this episode I always remember like I was immediately like, oh, I don't even need to look at the credits before watching this episode. I know Mira Antois boarded a ton of scenes because like there's so many like very anime sort of like moments and expressions and everything. Like that moment, this is at the end of the episode, but when Rad comes back into the store and he's like talking from over his shoulder, but you don't see his face. I was like, that's such an anime like moment, and you know, just like so well boarded. So you know, like even a jokey episode like this is like given just enough of that like character and emotional oomph to raise it above what would be, you know, typical or average in its field. And I don't know, I love episodes about I love Rad, but I love characters that like get like those kind of like 15 minutes of fame episodes, you know, like characters with huge egos or with like small egos that get huge egos that become ridiculously popular because of something. You know, we had another episode like this before with Your Level 100. And like but this one like I think goes a step further by having the you know, Rad did create something that was actually successful. It wasn't like fake valor like with KO, where there was a glitch and he wasn't actually level 100. This, like, he actually did make something that was popular, but it was popular for the wrong reasons, or what he saw as the wrong reasons, because he actually like put in effort into like constructing this like physical comedy, and then everybody just saw it as like a stupid alien, you know, making an ass out of himself and saying blorp. And
like that's like, just relatable to any creative, like just blowout works. Like freaking, if I may use me as an example, one of my most popular videos was just a random video I just put out like made in 3 hours just because I'm like, I had a thought I wanted to get out. And now it's like at 50K, and I'm like, this is too much, man. Why is
which one's that?
It's the Scott the Woz one. One of the Scott the Woz ones.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just where I talk about the Borderline Forever special, and I'm just like, I don't know why. I just had the urge. I'm like, I want to talk about it for like good 3 minutes, and then just 50K, and I'm like, oh, why? I don't even make. and I would just feel like, what? How do I appeal to that audience? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, exactly, and like. That is touched on in the episode where like there's the, you know, the guy that was like parachuting and then he gets lit on fire.
He has to be on fire
like, the
just
only
to
way
stay
that
relevant.
He can... Is that the kind of life you want to live? And just like KO contemplating it while you see him in the background on fire shopping. Yeah. Like,
And it also just like it just kind of plays into the social media theme of just like, well, anyone could like be in that like position. Because it's like, you don't need a studio, you don't need executives, you can just post a video.
I think like, yes, maybe using like social media and using like especially like a Vine reference when like Vine was dead by 2017, like that is a little bit dated, but I always like I don't know, I balk at the idea that something being dated means that it's bad.
It's still a relevant lesson even way, and I argue with TikTok, like, you know, it's kind of made itself relevant again.
And like for sure with TikTok, and just in general, like say 20 years from now when like social media is completely different and who knows, we're all in the fucking metaverse or whatever. But like I still think people like people be like, oh, that was like, that's how it was in the 2010s. You know, like they'll have like that nostalgia and whatever attached to it, but there's still like interesting lessons to be gleaned from that, you know. This is a wild swing. I don't know if anybody listening to this, you know, like if how much of a cross section there is, but if you're on Buster's channel, maybe there is. But like in the current Kamen Rider show recently, Kamen Rider Geats, was a whole subplot about like toxic idol culture.
Oh yeah,
you know, like the things like that revolving around the character Neon, as well as like, you know, her relationship with Kyun, one of her supporters. And like, to me, that's like, you know, obviously it's still a problem, but like, to me, that's like definitely a thing that was like way more of a problem like earlier, like in the 2010s or whatever, in like Japan's history. Maybe it's still a problem with
it probably
like the rise
is. There
of
hasn't really
VTubers
been any big
now.
breakthroughs yet, so
Yeah, but like it's just like one of those things where I like, that's still, even if it is like a of its time, you know, like going back and watching something like Perfect Blue, which is about like the idol culture of the 90s rather than of like the modern times, it's still like these lessons, even though that's like a very different kind of idol, there's still so many ways that we can transplant them on to like the problems with today, with like stalkers and like obsession and things like, and keeping this like perfect purity to yourself, things like that. You know, Perfect Blue, huge content warning if you're gonna go check out that movie, but I definitely highly recommend it. It's you know, it's Satoshi Kon. He made like 4 masterpieces.
yeah.
So, you know, that guy's a fucking legend.
I also like,
yeah.
just I don't know why this gag gets me, but like the end of the episode where they just throw the like shitty movie into the lava, like just be like rage critic style, like just out of like a 2010s Channel Awesome production. I don't know why that just cracks me up.
I love it. Yeah, that was my intro quote, was that thank you for joining me in this active volcano.
Yeah.
That's the idea, there's an active volcano somewhere nearby, because it appears in like a later episode where they're about to, like, Dendi and KO are about to throw their entire POW card collection into the volcano because
it does play to the playground like aspect of OKKO's world, where it's just like it's not really consistent, but there's just so many fun elements to like explore. It's like a toy box, and it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's oh man, this must have been like such a fun show to like board on.
Yeah.
I remember Dave Allegri saying that like KO was awesome because whatever stupid thing he could think of to draw, they just let him draw.
Yeah, because it fits with the world.
Yeah, he just got to put it in the episode. Yeah, so that was like, I don't know, having that like child logic, that like playground kind of logic. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Also, like, as someone who's recently gotten to a friend group where we started watching Tubi movies every Saturday, like, that alien attack filming bits were like really like, oh, that I feel that, man, I feel that, like that, those were extra hard for me on the second viewing.
Yeah, my friend of the show, Cody Briscoe, was in a Tubi movie recently.
Interesting.
It was like a VHS anthology movie, like something like that. He was like playing himself in a cowboy hat in that movie. I think that the director wants to get him on for more stuff, so I think he's going to become like a Z tier movie star here. So
get him on the show.
Great. That's the perfect direction for Cody's career, honestly, is becoming a like not even B tier, but like bottom of the barrel Tubi fucking direct to Tubi movie star.
Yeah,
you know, just that feels like it's right for him. I did one quote that I wrote down that I didn't get a chance to mention was the time to return to the quiet dignity of consuming content instead of making content.
You'll never take me alive.
And that's I felt that very hard. You know, where there was like, you know, there are very few moments in my life where I'm like, I'm just gonna not make something. I'm just gonna watch. I'm going to consume this thing without thinking, I can monetize this or I can contentify this.
My brain is always going like, I need to do things, so it's like I don't like taking breaks. So
but yeah, that
I think that's all we had to say on Everybody Likes Rad ?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only other, I don't know, like the only other things that I can think of to say are just like, I mean, that's like the The convention scene, very funny. The film scene, I like how they. Here's what I'll say: I like how the director is like, well, everybody in this town is like a stereotype, and then like Rad kind of like disproves that by being like, yeah, but they're like, you know,
there's a bit more
like,
nuance to it.
Yes, like there's more to being an alien than just saying like blorp and meep morp and things like that.
Yeah,
you know, and like I love when they're watching the movie at the end, and like there's the human guy dressed up as a Planet X alien, and he's like saying all of the like "take me to your leader" and stuff, and they're just like horrified at the end, like they just saw like, you know, the most racist thing they could possibly see.
Oh God!
Like, oh my God! And then that's why they decide to throw it into the volcano. Yeah. But yeah, just very very funny. You know, it like dances on the edge of like a you know, subject matter that is like controversial without like fully, you know, like
it still gets its message across without being too ham-fisted.
Yeah, I would say like there's the gun control episode later.
Oh God, that's gonna be a fun one.
Do not like, but I'll like. I remember enjoying it, you know, and like thinking like, "Oh, Mr. Enter, you're a fucking idiot."
Yeah, I remember enjoying it
so upset
too.
about this. Yeah. But we'll have to, you know, we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, that hold
change.
up.
Yeah, and Mr. Enter, he does suck quite a bit.
I feel like this is the 5th time we've mentioned him in this podcast series.
He's gonna keep coming up. That's just how I am. Yeah, you know,
never let go of your grudges, kids. Then you too can have and Boogeyman on your podcast.
Here's what I'll say. This is the first time I've ever publicly mentioned Mr. Enter, because every other time that I've like roasted him is privately in like Discord and stuff, because I don't want to have beef with anybody or whatever. You know, like I don't really care to start beef with random content creators. I don't want Mr. Ender to know I exist. I'm positive. I don't think he likes OKKO. He'll never fucking listen to this, you know. And I'm not even like, regardless of how I feel about him as a person, which I will not get into here, like me making fun of his stupid video where he's like complaining about OKKO and complaining about this episode, and he's just like, he has such a bug up his ass about the fucking gun control episode. It's just ridiculous regardless of how you feel about him as a creator, you know, like regardless of how you feel, it's like you can take the piss out of him, and it's like, guys, you gotta like chill out about this, you know. It made me think of like, I remember, okay, this is a weird tangent here, but end of the podcast is a good place for tangents. But there's a YouTuber, Arlo, the puppet YouTuber.
Yeah, I know Arlo.
And like, of course, yeah. But just for anybody who might not know, that's the blue puppet guy. He, like, back in like 2020, made like 100,000 fucking videos about Paper Mario Origami King.
Yeah. That
was just like complaining about it in various ways, and just very like very doomery about Paper Mario Origami King. And I'll say, I subscribed to Arlo because of his original Paper Mario video back in like 2016 or whatever it was, because I was like, yeah, fuck these new games. I like the first 3, you know. Sticker Star sucks, Color Splash doesn't look any better, things like that. So like, I'm on his side. I think Thousand Year Door is an amazing game. You know, original Paper Mario is an enchanting masterpiece. Super Paper Mario is pretty good. You know, but like, even I was like, dude,
calm the hell
do
down.
We need this many videos about Origami King? And like, you know, including a video where he's like, yeah, it actually is like pretty terrible to talk about this game now. Like, it's pretty miserable to talk about it.
Oh,
like,
who's the...
Yeah. Just like make your initial impressions video, play the game, make your, you know, review where you're roasting it. That's fine. But just like there's just so much belly aching about it. And again, like, this is not me coming in as somebody who hates Arlo. I enjoy a lot of his videos, you know, and I've been subscribed to him for a very long time. So, but like, the only times where I got to the point where I'm like, all right, dude, we gotta reel it in here was with Sword and Shield and with Origami King, so sometimes that just happens. So if you're a fan of Mr. Enter, do not take it as me saying you're a bad person, or even that he's a bad person or whatever, that he didn't. It's just like, you got to get over this OKKO episode, man. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. It's just like, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, so
creator stuff so that,
is
that weird.
Was,
I feel like I just accidentally put a diss track on my own channel.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's my fault. So,
no, it's fine. It's fine.
You can fire me.
No, I'm not gonna. I literally have no one else to do this podcast with. I don't know many people who like this show. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I think that will do it for this week's episode. Buster, why don't you tell us where we can find you?
I'm Buster Corp. You might be watching this on my channel. If so, hi. But you can also listen to the podcast and Spotify, and the links are down below.
Yeah. On all your podcatchers.
Yeah, and I'm also on Twitter at BusterBlade3, where I do media threads. Is E3 / Summer Games Fest happening around this time? I'll probably be tweeting about that. So get ready for.
Well, E3 is dead.
Yeah, I know. I still call it E3 because it's
yeah, that's true.
Time.
Yeah, the late June, Final Fantasy 16. Yeah.
I'm honestly very excited. Also, just Street Fighter 6 will be coming out, so I'm excited to play those. But if you want to hear those thoughts, just go on the Twitters and stuff. I'm also at Tumblr at Buster's Corp, where I do things. And mostly the said things are just reblogging funny art. So.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, I haven't been on Tumblr since probably around the time of the pandemic when it began.
That's fair.
And I remember a moment of being on there. And this was right when the Green Eggs and Ham show.
Oh yeah,
came out on Netflix.
Was that the most expensive animated show at the time?
Yeah, yes, it was $3 million per episode or some ridiculous thing like that. And I mean, it's a great show. I haven't seen the second season, but the first season was great. I remember I always after I'm finished watching a season of something, or I'm all caught up or whatever, I like to go either on Twitter or Tumblr and just search on the tags and see what are other people's discussions. What are they discussing? Because if I go on CO, it gets dark very quick. So I don't want to go on CO to see what people are discussing about that. So I prefer to go to places like Tumblr and Twitter. But there came a moment where there was a lot of a certain kind of fan art, I'll say, involving characters in on Tumblr, and I had this moment of what am I doing here? Why am I searching this on Tumblr? I don't need to see this, So then I that was kind of the moment of me at that point moving away from it, I guess. And then just never going back because it was just easier to post on Twitter. Twitter sucks, by the way. I'm not saying it's better than Tumblr in any way. Tumblr has its problems, but you can at least express nuance on Tumblr with your opinions on things.
Yeah, Twitter is literally waffles.
Yeah, so it's yeah, but that's. I mean, you can find me at twitter.com/WazBranger. That's WAZP Ranger. Mostly just stream of consciousness stuff, but I do sometimes post about what I'm working on, podcasts that I'm hosting or guesting in, and any updates on what's going on with me personally. Go there, check it out. I got Robocon as my icon. You know, if you like Robocon, well, watch that show. It's pretty good.
Is it subbed yet?
So, no.
Oh, okay.
But the first 2 episodes are officially subbed, though, via Toei Tokusatsu World. I watched the first 2 episodes of the original Robocon and the first 2 episodes of the 90s one, and I was like, yeah, I like this red robot man. Yeah. Let me draw him as my profile picture now. But yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at It's Only Magic. I do personal retrospectives on cartoons and sometimes internet videos like Angry Video Game Nerd, Homestar Runner, things like that. Haven't been doing a lot of videos this year. Who knows if I will be doing them, but either way, it's still go on there and check out. I have a pretty good backlog of stuff. Go check it out. Did a big video on OKKO. Did a video on Chowder, which I really enjoy. Did a video on Camp Laszlo that I really enjoy, Megas XLR, where I talk about Tony Hawk for like the first 9 minutes. That really pissed off a bunch of people in the comments.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They do not like setting the stage, for adding to the tone and the vibe. They're just like, just start reviewing the show. You're talking about this fucking video game for 6-7 minutes, at the start. And I'm like, look, this is my process. You can watch many other YouTubers that are doing straight, like, I watched this show today, and here is my opinion. Those are out there. You can find those. This is me. I'm talking about my life and how these cartoons relate to me and, like, what they mean to me. It's all me-centric. I'm very, I'm a very selfish person. So that's what I'll say about that. But, yeah, thank you so much for listening to this. Join us next time on this podcast, episode 12, as we talk about episodes 21 and 22. I don't have the episode names with me, so find them on Hulu. But either way, join us next week for yet another episode of Lakewood Podcast Turbo. See you there.